In Tennessee, 16-year-old Calvino Inman cries tears of blood.
I looked in the mirror, I thought, oh my God, Armageddon.
Medical specialists are perplexed by his shocking condition.
Calvino's case is unique. We do not have an answer.
God-fearing locals are shocked.
This affliction was brought on through the working of Satan.
He's not Satan's child, he's my child, and I'm not Satan.
In India, this mother's tears of blood are destroying her life.
I'm scared. What have I become?
Two normal people suffering from an extraordinary, unexplained medical condition. Can they find the answers that will give them back their lives?
I've never seen anything like that, have you?
In Rockwood, Tennessee, 16-year-old Calvino Inman is getting ready for school. But that means leaving the safety of his house.
At first, I wasn't scared to go in public until I started seeing how people were reacting to it. No one wants someone who bleeds out of their eyes as a friend.
Until a year and a half ago, Calvino was a regular teenager. But one night before bed, everything changed in an instant.
I went upstairs to take a shower. I looked in the mirror and seen blood coming down my face. I panicked.
He said, Mom, my eyes are bleeding. And I walked up the steps and both eyes are literally bleeding.
Honestly, I thought, oh my God, Armageddon.
It's a memory that Calvino's mother, Tammy, will never forget.
He turned around, he said, Mom, am I gonna die? That hit me hard. Because in my mind, I'm asking myself, God, is he gonna die?
Tammy rushed Calvino to the emergency room. But by the time a doctor saw him, his eyes had stopped bleeding.
They literally looked at me as if I had lost my mind.
Tammy began keeping a photographic record of each time Calvino's eyes bled, which was totally unrelated to crying normal tears of emotion.
If I was to start crying just like regularly because I'm sad or upset or something, it'd be regular tears. That's the crazy part about it.
The bleeding is painless, but with secondary symptoms including massive headaches, nausea, and severe fatigue, things went from bad to worse.
Whoa. It started happening about 3 or 4 times a day. First time, it came out of my eyes. About a week later, it came out of my eyes and nose. About 2 weeks later, it came out of my eyes, nose, and mouth. It was a bloodbath.
Countless doctors have struggled to find answers and have only been able to offer the same advice they would to a patient with severe nosebleeds. Stem the blood loss and rest. Frustratingly, after a year and a half, the cause of Calvino's condition remains a mystery.
I've had doctors tell me, well, it's not cancer, it's not this, it's not that. Okay, thank you. What is it?
The youngest of 4, Calvino lives in the small town of Rockwood, set deep in the heartlands of rural Tennessee. It's Bible country, and many of its 6,000 citizens noticed the day Calvino was featured on the state news channel.
A Tennessee teenager appears to have a bizarre medical condition.
Yes, Calvino Inman seems like any other 15-year-old boy. But then, without warning,
My eyes are bleeding.
Just a few minutes into the interview, Calvino's eyes started bleeding, revealing his condition to the world.
I've never seen anything like that, have you? No, and in fact, nobody knows what's causing this rare medical condition.
Tammy knew it was her best chance to make an emotional appeal for medical help.
I will go wherever we need to go. I'll do whatever I have to do. I just please want somebody to help my baby.
But what Calvino and Tammy couldn't predict was the terrifying reaction from the local community. With no medical explanation for the phenomenon, they started to reach conclusions of their own.
This affliction was brought on through the working of Satan.
Watching these vampire movies on TV where they have the graphic blood, and then actually there's a person that's supposed to be like that here.
Maybe it's a sign from the Lord, being that times are coming to an end.
Suddenly, Calvino found some of the community turning against him.
The main name I've been called was a devil worshiper, which is, I guess, someone who cries blood. I don't know. I've never really looked into it.
This past weekend, I got a text message telling me, God wants me to still heal your child. I can show you a side of God that you've never believed. People want to do seance on him. No, he is a regular little boy. He's not Satan's child. He's my child, and I'm not Satan.
Calvino's not the only person suffering from this mysterious medical phenomenon. 9,000 miles away in India, a 30-year-old woman is struggling with a similar affliction. Rashida Begum and husband Aslam live with their 3 children in a one-room house with a walled garden. While Aslam prepares lunch, Rashida gathers her strength. Until recently, she cooked every meal and was a devoted wife and mother. But now she's a prisoner in her own home, ever since the day she first shed blood from her eyes.
It started from here and dropped on my clothes. I wiped it off thinking it was normal tears.
It's a day Aslam will never forget.
I knew straight away it was a strange illness. No one, not even the elders, speak of such things.
It's now been 3 years since Rashida's first bleeding episode, but it still happens daily. Like Calvino, she can still cry normal tears of emotion, but massive internal pain and blinding headaches have wrecked her health, leaving her too weak to take care of the family.
I used to take such good care of them all. Now my illness makes me too weak to even get out of bed.
The unexplainable condition can strike at any time, causing momentary loss of consciousness. Local doctors have been unable to explain the bleeding or the decline in Rashida's health, leaving Aslam heartbroken.
When I see her in this condition, I feel the world has gone black. I can only hope to God that He can find a miracle cure.
But Rashida's health isn't Aslam's only concern. Caring for her and the children has cost him his job as a mechanic, putting the future of the whole family in jeopardy.
We have taken many loans from our friends, and there is no fruit left on the tree.
With the attacks occurring on a regular basis, the family is at breaking point. Rashida's mysterious bleeding has alienated friends and family, even leading some to question its legitimacy.
Many people, doctors, and even our friends have asked if she is doing it to herself. But I am 110% sure she is not faking it. Who in their right mind would invent a problem like this?
Coming up.
Just all of a sudden, the blood starts running out of his eye.
Why me?
Blood was just like coming out of his eyes.
In Tennessee, Calvino Inman has spent the last 18 months suffering from a mysterious condition that makes blood come from his eyes. Today, He's at school for the last day before summer vacation. Calvino's condition has kept him out of school, and he's struggling to keep up.
Mr. Davis, what's another word for blunt?
What?
Blunt.
Just write something down. It'll be all right. Trust me.
Even when he does make class, the constant threat of his eyes starting to bleed makes it hard for him to concentrate. Teacher Jeff Davies will never forget the first time he saw blood coming from Calvino's eyes.
It was a normal day in class, and just all of a sudden, blood starts running out of his eyes. That's scary.
Well, I was sitting in class, and I could feel it coming, so I got out of class and went straight to the bathroom. I was woozy, lightheaded, and my head was hurting. I had myself a little trail of blood following me to the bathroom. Most people reacted by staring. I went to the bathroom, and the more I wiped, the more it came out. But I was just like, dude, this is a horror film.
The bleeding lasts for up to an hour, leaving Calvino weak, disoriented, and suffering massive headaches.
So I have like a big white shade over everything. Everything's really bright, and either I get spaced out or I pass out.
It's every teenager's nightmare to be the odd one out. Now, Calvino's mysterious and terrifying condition has made him the focus of the entire school.
His eyes just started filling up with blood, and blood just started...
It was like starting to run down his face, like a face.
Blood was just like coming out of his
I didn't know what to think.
I've seen people start crying because of it.
I think it's religious.
Devil's child, free.
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why me? How come it's me that has to go through it? I don't want to have to go through life where everyone's staring at me 24/7. I'm praying that a doctor out there could help me out here.
Today, Tammy and Calvino are driving 350 miles west to Memphis for a checkup with eye specialist Dr. James Fleming. He first contacted Calvino after seeing the TV report a year ago. Having successfully helped other patients suffering from bloody tears, he's confident he can help.
When one examines an individual for bloody tears, one goes through a series of tests. First, what we call mechanical problems, and then we look for tumors, and then we look for tear duct problems, and then we look for genetic defects, and then we start to run out of possibilities.
After a year of tests, Dr. Fleming is no closer to finding the answer. Today he's got some fresh information that could shed new light on Calvino's condition. But Mom Tammy is scared of more disappointing news.
I honestly feel like Dr. Fleming has tried everything he can think of and everything he can do. It's very frustrating because we're in America, you know. They say the best doctors are here.
"9,000 miles away in India, Rashida and her family are also struggling with her unexplainable bleeding episodes. She now passes out and collapses up to 5 times a day from the bleeding and devastating headaches and internal pain. With his family falling apart, husband Aslam is at breaking point. He's decided that despite the high costs, it's time to take Rashida to the local eye clinic to see optometrist Dr. Satyajit Sinha.
Bleeding from the eye is very, very rare. It's never heard of, and we want to see where exactly it is coming from.
After 3 years of worry, Aslam is looking forward to finally discovering what causes the mysterious bleeding.
Now the tests have started. My whole mood has lifted. Soon we will know what we need to do.
An eye examination gives no clues to the cause of the bleeding. Dr. Sinha sends Rashida for a CT scan to see if she has any serious internal medical problems.
There is no big abnormality present. There is no tumor or no abnormal enhancement seen.
Only an X-ray could now reveal any hidden abnormalities in her body. But every test has failed to find any new evidence. With no sign of any medical problems, Dr. Sinha is beginning to doubt Rashida and Aslam's claims.
We did quite a few tests on it, and we have not found anything to suggest that there is any bleeding right now. We have not seen it ourselves.
Can video clips showing Rashida bleeding convince Dr. Sinha to take the case further?
In this clip, we see pillow appears to be soaked with blood. The bleeding on the pillow does appear like there was actually some bleeding.
Intrigued, Dr. Sinha decides the only way of solving the mystery of Rashida's condition is to refer her to India's leading ophthalmologist 700 miles away in Delhi.
We cannot totally say that what she may be saying is totally wrong. There could be some bleeding disorder, so she may be going to Delhi from here.
Back home, Aslam breaks the news to the children.
ले जाने दिल्ली ठीक है ना
ठीक है
दुआ करना है कि कैसे जैसे जितना जल्दी अल्लाह पाक अच्छा कर दे हमनी को ठीक है रोबोगी ना हैं दुआ करोगी ना मुंह से बोलो बच्चों
Traveling to Delhi will cost Aslam his last savings, but he knows the future of his family rests on the outcome.
If the doctors cannot figure out how to treat this, then our lives will be finished and our children destroyed.
Coming up.
If they keep on like this, then we will leave the hospital.
This is a very disconcerting problem. You see blood just gush out of this little thing.
In India, Rashida Begum suffers from a mystery condition, causing her to bleed from her eyes up to 5 times a day. She and husband Aslam have traveled to Delhi, hoping one of India's leading eye specialists can find a cure. But tonight, they have a special visit to make, the Nizamuddin Dargah. 16 years ago, on a pilgrimage to this holy site, they met for the first time.
At the time, I never thought I would get married. But when I met him, that changed. Something made me turn towards him.
Their parents wanted them to have arranged marriages. Choosing their own partners meant breaking tradition and upsetting their families. But Rashida was determined to stay with Aslam.
That day he said, "I hope you will not forget me." And I said, "I will not forget you."
6 months later, Aslam happily married Rashida, but at a huge personal cost. Marrying for love meant losing his own family forever.
I became absolutely alone in the world. It was with her that I chose to live and die.
Now, the support of his wealthy family could make all the difference. But too proud to beg forgiveness, Aslam has gambled his last savings to get Rashida to the best doctor in India. Everything rides on tomorrow's diagnosis. In Memphis, Calvino and his mother Tammy have arrived at the Hamilton Eye Institute, hoping for answers or even a cure for his bleeding eyes. Senior ophthalmologist Dr. James Fleming believes Calvino is suffering from an extremely rare condition called hemolacria.
Hemolacria is a term that is a combination of two words. Hemo meaning blood and lacria meaning tears.
Less than 1 in a million people are affected by hemolacria each year worldwide. But in a handful of cases, finding the cause can be a major challenge for doctors.
We have a number of individuals that come to see us with hemolacria, and we find the reason. We find the cause, whether it's a growth or a tumor or an infected tear duct. And once we come up with the cause, then we treat that cause and the bleeding symptom.
But although Dr. Fleming has successfully found the cause of many patients' hemolacria, Calvino's remains a mystery.
What Calvino has, this type of hemolacria, is not only unique but extremely rare. In my 30 years of medical practice, I've only seen 2 individuals that have hemolacria, bloody tears, which I've been unable to come up with a diagnosis as to why they have this problem.
Calvino Inman.
Dr. Fleming also knows the psychological toll Calvino's mysterious bleeding is taking on him.
Good to see you.
You too.
Hello, Calvino. It's good to see you again.
You too.
This is a very disconcerting problem. Somebody's in school, and all of a sudden they have these episodes of bloody tears, and when this happens, everybody gets concerned. So I understand you continue to have some bleeding episodes. That is correct?
Yes, sir.
Today, Dr. Fleming has some amazing news. Just this week, he has successfully identified the cause of another patient's hemolacria.
Now, hers had only lasted a week, but I saw her last week. And so we photographed her episode of bloody tears. Steve?
He hopes it might lead to a breakthrough in Calvino's case.
She had a recent onset of bloody tears. What we did was an examination to define a cause for this. And what I've done is evert or flip the eyelid, and I saw something. And literally, if you see right there, there's a little red dot. And if you start looking a little closer, see the little red dot popping up right there? I magnified that up and took a picture of it. You see the little globules of blood vessels? Well, that's this little thing. See, there's a Q-tip right there, and you see how small that little dot is? Then the next thing I did was I wanted to see what that dot would do, and I rubbed a Q-tip across it. That's what happened. That's what happened. And you see blood just gush out of those little things, and it becomes bloody tears.
Dr. Fleming wanted Calvino to see this woman's case to show him that if they can identify the cause of his bloody tears, an instant solution could be possible.
And it's a little small blood vessel abnormality that I was able to cauterize and seal off that day. So she had bloody tears, she came in, and that's the end of her bloody tears.
Calvino and Tammy are stunned. Could this be the cure they've been searching for? Coming up.
He looks like a healthy young man on that scan.
You can only hear so many times, it's not this, it's not that. Okay, we know what it's not. What is it?
If they treat her this way, then it is better off she dies.
Calvino Inman has a mysterious medical condition. For a year and a half, blood has come from his eyes. Leading ophthalmologist James Fleming has recently solved a similar case.
You see the tears are full of blood, and that's where that blood's coming from. But it all came from this tiny little bump.
Unlike Calvino's bleeding, this patient's problem was simple to treat.
I was able to cauterize and seal off that day. So she had bloody tears. She came in, and that's the end of her bloody tears. If you look straight ahead.
Today, Dr. Fleming wants to examine Calvino's eyelids. He's looking for tiny lesions that, if aggravated, could be causing him to bleed from his eyes up to 5 times a day.
The next thing I'd like to do is flip your eyelid, and this allows me to look at the back surface of the eyelid.
It's a routine that Calvino has experienced many times before, but Dr. Fleming's recent success makes it easier to take.
When I heard how he had a patient that's been through this, it kind of gave me hope. I can see it in his eyes. He was determined to find a cure for this.
And it all looks very healthy. Look up, and you flip it back. Now what I'm going to do is flip your eyelid and look at it under high magnification, okay?
Disappointingly, once again, Dr. Fleming can't find the cause of Calvino's bleeding, but he's determined to keep looking. He's arranged a CT scan to search for hidden lesions in the nose and throat and behind the eyes. Can it offer Dr. Fleming any new clues?
I do not see any tumors or growths. The bone is in normal position. There's nothing abnormally placed. He looks like a healthy young man on that scan.
It's another disappointing visit. But Dr. Fleming wants them to try and stay positive.
Even though we don't have an answer, we have continued to rule out a number of different significant problems. His examination today is good. Okay? If you ask me if I have an answer as to the cause of his bleeding, at this time I do not. Sometimes in medicine that's the case.
But it's not the answer Tammy wanted to hear. Once again, she's returning home with no cure.
I guess I've lost all hope. Because, I mean, you can only hear so many times, it's not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. Okay, we know what it's not. What is it?
In India, Rashida and Aslam are on the final leg of their journey to the prestigious AIMS hospital in Delhi. Today, Aslam hopes to finally find out the cause of his wife's bleeding eyes so they can return home to their children and rebuild their lives. Professor Rajvardhan Azad is expecting them. As one of India's leading eye specialists, he's intrigued by Rashida's mysterious problem and hopes to be the one to solve it.
I need to see myself and then, find out the true picture.
None of the test results from Rashida's recent medical checkup offers any clues to the cause of her bleeding eyes.
There's nothing in the lacrimal area, all clear? No mass. Okay, so we'll examine the patient.
Can Dr. Azad spot something new?
I don't see anything here. If there's anything there. Gland, as far as I can see, there is no swelling or anything. It's done. वैसे तो ठीक है इनका.
It's a massive disappointment. There's nothing wrong with Rashida's eyes. She's given a bed because the doctors want to run more tests. But with a packed ward to run, the senior nurse wants answers.
तो ऐसे भी कहते आ रहे हैं कि महीना रोज 20 रोज कभी कदार ऐसा होता है कि 20-20 दिन नहीं आता है.
कभी ऐसा होता है तो तुम उसको नोटिस करके दिखाओ कि देखो ये फैक्ट है. मोबाइल से फोटो खींचो कि देखो ब्लड आ रहा है. डिजिटल कैमरा
उस घड़ी मेरा दिल नहीं गवारा करता है. और हालांकि आज भी जितने मीडिया हैं, हाँ, वो जो प्रॉब्लम उसका पेट के दर्द का है.
तो आप मानते हो ना कि ठीक है?
हाँ.
The accusation leaves Rashida deeply upset. But as for Aslam, who has staked the livelihood of his family on this trip, it's the final straw.
जैसे कि ये लो कोई भी है तो मैंने मीठा से जो चीज मिल जाएगा उससे कुछ नहीं होगा, अब आराम से रहो।
Dr. Azad's assistant tries to console him.
वैसे बोले कि हमको ना कुछ कराना, हम चल।
नहीं, अभी तो आप आए हो, कोई बात नहीं, उसको नहीं पता ना।
Aslam knows there's no turning back. Rashida is at the mercy of the doctors.
वे तो लगे डांट रहे हैं हमको।
I feel like they are scolding us. If they treat her this way, it is better off she dies.
Coming up.
She has a problem. That happens here, in this part of the world.
Have mercy. Look at your eyes.
For 3 years, Rashida Begum has been crying tears of blood. India's leading specialists can find nothing wrong with her eyes. Now, doctors are searching for other medical issues. Amazingly, a gastrointestinal X-ray reveals a major new problem: a severe rupture to Rashida's large intestine.
In the intestine, she has a gastric problem.
This explains Rashida's extreme fatigue and weakness, and can now be cured by a small operation back at her local clinic. Incredibly, the medical team believes that her stomach condition could also explain her bloody tears. A team of psychiatrists suggests that Rashida could be faking her bleeding eyes to draw attention to her genuine abdominal pain. A theory backed up by the absence of a bleeding episode since her arrival.
Mostly you will see these things happening in the ladies. They are not given much attention. So they, try to, feign things like, having some blood or some kind of, complaint they will make to their parents or to their husbands so that they pay attention to them. This intestinal problem, if that is taken care of, the anxiety will be over, and once the anxiety is over, all these symptoms which she is complaining of will be gone.
Dr. Azad calls Rashida and Aslam to his office.
मैं आपको भेजे थे वो भी यही बोल रहे हैं कि आपको मेन प्रॉब्लम जो है वो पेट का है, पेट वाला जो प्रॉब्लम है उसका हम निदान करवा देंगे.
Although Dr. Azad believes there is nothing wrong with Rashida's eyes, he thinks he might have a solution to stop the bleeding.
दूसरी बात यह है कि जो आँख का प्रॉब्लम आपको है, आगे आपको ऐसा नहीं हो, उसके लिए हम आपको गोली लिख देते हैं और आँख में आई का ड्रॉप्स लिख देते हैं.
But these eye drops are actually a placebo, a harmless water-based liquid. Psychologically, Dr. Azad hopes the drops will help Rashida believe she is being cured.
इसको सुबह शाम 2 बार डाल दीजिएगा. ये बी कॉम्प्लेक्स टैबलेट है और ये आँख में डालने की दवा है.
But the question remains: if Rashida was faking the bleeding, how did she do it? Does this piece of video footage offer any proof? She first has no visible blood on her face. She then shields her eyes from the camera, moves her hand down to her mouth, and then from her mouth up to her right eye. Here she appears to be struggling to place something in the region of her eye. A small clot of what appears to be blood is now clearly visible, but under her right eye, not in it. Because of the potentially fragile nature of Rashida's psychology, Dr. Azad hopes the promise of a stomach operation will help ease her worries.
She is very anxious. So this kind of sympathetic approach to the, these patients, that goes a long way.
Rashida and Aslam begin the long journey home to Patna. Will the stomach operation and the placebo eye treatment bring 3 years of misery to an end? Back in Tennessee, Calvino and dog Taz are taking a morning walk. Even though he hasn't bled from his eyes for a week, he never knows how people will react to seeing him.
A kid crying blood in a small town like this, that's just not something you see every day. Most of the neighbors, they'd rather stare at you than talk to you. Taz! Oh crap, the big dog's gonna try to eat my dog. Taz, get over here. I've had like 3 people tell me, I hope you bleed to death out of your eyes, or don't you have other things to be doing like bleeding? That was uncalled for. Yeah, you can see it starting to swell up still.
Back at home, one look in the mirror sets alarm bells ringing. He's got the puffy eyes and headache that are the usual signs of a bleeding episode.
Have mercy.
With no anti-swelling drugs in the house, Calvino's mom, Tammy, needs to think fast to help her son.
Look at your eyes.
Coming up.
Come on, go. It breaks my heart to see him like this. And there's nothing I can do.
In Tennessee, Calvino Inman, the boy who cries blood, is being rushed to the pharmacy.
Come on, go. Your eyes are watering and everything.
Mom Tammy wants pills to bring down the swelling around his eyes. One of the first signs the bleeding will soon start.
We try to live a normal life, and it's like everything's jumping out in the way to keep us from living that normal life.
I really don't know what to think. If she starts panicking, I start panicking.
It's getting really puffy.
Back home, Calvino heads for bed. The pills have reduced the swelling, but he's left with a debilitating headache and extreme fatigue. At 2 a.m., Calvino calls his mom to his room. After not bleeding for 10 days, once again blood is coming from his eyes. He's devastated, after hoping it might have stopped for good.
See, the very first day it happened, when I look at myself in the mirror right now.
Tammy will never get used to seeing this happen to her son.
It breaks my heart to see him like this, because he looks so tired, and there's nothing I can do.
For the second time today, Calvino heads back to bed. His disappointment at bleeding again has left him with some big questions.
You need me, just holler for me.
I love you.
I love you. I'm gonna set this right here if you need it.
Night, Will. I don't want to say I'm mad at God, because that's terrible to say. But I am confused with one of the decisions he's made.
In India, Rashida and Aslam have been back home for 2 weeks. Surgery for what Dr. Azad diagnosed as her true medical condition, a perforated intestine, is now just days away. Rashida's confident that the operation will be a success. She's making a huge effort to resume her motherly role.
I never lost hope that I would be cured and return to my family.
Her eldest son, Adil, is delighted to see such a change in his mom.
I'm so happy that my family can return to normal.
Aslam is making sure that Rashida takes her eye drops regularly. They have not shown any signs of knowing that it's a harmless placebo treatment, but it does seem to be working. Rashida's eyes haven't bled once since returning from Delhi.
God willing, I can take care of my family, and my eyes will never bleed again.
With the future looking bright for the first time in 3 years, Aslam is delighted that his unwavering devotion to Rashida has paid off.
If she is happy, then we are all happy.
Rashida's stomach operation was a success, and she quickly returned to good health. After 2 months, she has had no further occurrences of bleeding from her eyes. In Rockwood, it's now been a full month since Calvino's eyes bled, the longest period since it started nearly 2 years ago. Just a few months back, he was bleeding from his eyes up to 5 times a day. But now the mystery condition appears to be slowing down. Tonight he's confident it won't happen, so he decides to join his friends at the roller disco.
If I really wanted to, I could just stay at home all the time and let this bother me, worry about people asking me all these questions about it. But I'd rather not, because I want to live my life to the fullest and be normal.
But will the cause of Calvino's bloody tears ever be found? After studying Calvino for over a year, eye specialist Dr. James Fleming believes all the signs now point to the mysterious bleeding reaching its own natural conclusion.
We have seen individuals that have had this problem for a period of weeks to months to even a few years, and the problem has stopped, and no answer has been found, but it has been self-limited. And my hope is that this, like others, will slow down and just stop.
Calvino wants to believe Dr. Fleming is right. He's determined not to let his condition hold him back anymore.
My plans for tonight is to come in and try to enjoy myself with all my friends. It's real important for me to keep on the track that I was before all this bleeding started happening. Just coming to the skating rink every weekend, just kicking it with my friends. How do you not know how to skate, really? Skating's the best thing ever did. I love skating. It's so fun.
Calvino's bleeding episodes occur less and less frequently. He firmly believes that his mystery condition will one day come to an end.